tell you what. Jody and the curmudgeon. Gonna do that long-awaited Raymo review. Go over here in the shade. I've been mowing all morning with it. This is the Raymo slope mower with the R48 Craft mowing deck. It's a rough mowing deck. It's got more powerful motors and a swing blade like a bush hog kind of like blade. Cuts pretty rough stuff. I've cut hardwood at least 2 inches and mulched it up. As we've talked about before, it's totally electric. It's for years for decades, I owned 2 mowers that were a Bobcat Ransom mower, built almost identical to this. It had the same size drive wheels, had a front mowing 48-inch deck. Of course, it was belt driven. The drive was hydrostatic. It had a Kohler engine. I think it was a 16 horse, 18 horsepower engine that drove a hydrostatic unit, a little hydraulic pump that drove the drive wheels, and it was 0 turn, but it had a little sulky that you could sit on the back, and you rode it, and you had a little steering tiller that you moved it back and forth. But the balance of the machine was the same, and I loved that thing because you could take it and you could nose off, nose into something. You know, you could even do this. You could go right up to the edge and then kind of pop a wheelie to cut the top edge of the bank. Just as maneuverable, but you did ride it. The Raymo, like I said, it's an identical machine except you don't ride it. It's radio controlled, as you can see. It's very responsive. We got the rough terrain tires, which I highly recommend. I even bought some rough terrains. It is 4-wheel drive in a sense. There's 2 electric motors that drive the 2 main wheels, but there's a chain drive that goes back to the rear wheel. So basically this wheel is tied to this wheel. But if you notice the balance of the machine, it does have a power lift. And you can see what it's doing. That gives you an idea of where the balance point is on the machine. It's almost perfectly balanced on the front wheels. So, and you can't mow with it up. There's a proximity switch. It has to be all the way down. And it talks to you. It's got little cute little chimes. This is high speed, but you've still got a lot of control, and then it's got a slower speed. But as you back up a hill, the weight is put onto the front drive wheels to give you a lot of traction. This is not much of a hill. If I go down here and I come back, you can see the rear wheels are basically off the ground. So the front wheels are taking all the weight, but they get a lot of traction that way. But then when you turn around and you start up a hill, the front wheels still have a lot of weight on them and traction, because you can see the deck is designed, this is the lowest cut. But as you go up a steep hill, let me go up this bank. The rear wheels actually bite in. Come over to the side. We've got an attempt at a rhododendron there, so I'm not going to go over the top, but you can see it'll almost climb a tree. But that's where the rear wheels help. An extremely low center of gravity. I'm sure you could turn it over, but I think you would basically have to drive it off of something, off of a bank. You could definitely mow yourself over with it, and it would just take your feet right off. It's not a toy for sure. It's all electric. It does have a small brig. The power unit, this is what they call the tool carrier, and then you put different mowing decks, and they've got some other types of attachments that go on it, but the propulsion unit they call a tool deck. As you can see, I've been really chewing it up. All the electronics, the motor controllers are inside this box up front, but this is the battery. It's 8 kilowatt hours rated. It's every bit of that. It'll mow 4 or 5 hours on slopes, which that's about all I want. But you can pull it up just a little bit here. Here's the little chime. So the real intent would be to turn the key off, push the e-stop, probably blow it off with an air compressor. It's got a CAN bus connection to the BMS within the battery, and there's telemetry on it. They have a system called Raylink. You get a year subscription to it, and I have it. I'll have to show that sometime, but you can bring it up on your PC and it tracks everywhere you mow and all your statistics, your battery usage, your and it shows it on Google Maps exactly every path you took and turned. But Anderson connector, standard Anderson connector to the battery BMS. I haven't done this in a while. We've only got the one battery, and that's certainly all I want. But you pull that keeper pin, and it's got some pretty neat little spring stuff. Like I said, I haven't had this out for a while. Oh yeah, got so much debris in here. You push these little catches back, and the battery comes out. So if you were really in fantastic shape and thought you could mow more than 5 hours a day on slopes, you could buy 2 of these. It comes with a charger. It charges basically 220 it'll charge over, or 110 it'll charge overnight. 220 I think it'll do it in about 4 hours. They also make a Briggs & Stratton engine. I don't know, it couldn't be more than about 2 horsepower. It mounts here, Jody, where this battery is, and it's got a very small lithium-ion battery pack. So what the Briggs engine does is runs a small generator to charge the battery that powers the mower. But in that scenario, you can keep fueling it with gas and I guess mow till your legs fall off. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's certainly an option. With the battery removed, you can see these are the 2 drive motors, and they've got a spring brake, fail-safe spring brake that sets when you aren't moving to lock it. And then the mowing deck has 3 electric motors. I can't remember what the drive motors are rated, but they're plenty powerful. These are 2 horsepower peak, if I'm remembering right. It might be 2 horsepower continuous. You can go back and look. But they are the most powerful. It's the most powerful mowing deck of any mower I've ever owned or operated. I had a Cub Cadet tank for 15-20 years that was a commercial 60-inch mowing deck, and it was a tough mower, but it doesn't have near the power that this does. The beauty of this is if you jam a blade on a rock or stick or load it up with thick grass, it doesn't affect the other ones. They're completely independent, nor does it affect the drive. All gasoline powered or diesel powered mowers, they're all belt driven. They all come off of one prime mover, one gas or diesel engine. So if you load it up, it loads everything up. This doesn't. If one thing gets cut or overloaded, it doesn't affect everything else. Should have done the deck first. Normally you would change the battery out of solid ground. Let's see if I can get it back in here. It's not a light little thing.
Do you want me to do anything?
Nah, I just gotta line it up. It's a lot easier if it's on solid ground. should have raised the mowing deck too. It's also got a little digital readout on the battery. I don't know if sorry. So I'm at 24% right now. It's at 50.061 volts. Screen doesn't say how long. And then it gives you each cell voltage like most BMSs do. High and low cells, faults. I don't know why anybody would, unless something was wrong with the battery. And then you're not going to do much with it but send it in. I think the CAN bus connector could be improved. I question if you do take it loose often and put it back on, you're probably, after a few years, going to be replacing it. You can see here's the antenna for the radio. It would have a lot more range if it was exposed or vertical, but in my mind it's got plenty of range. You can easily drive it probably 50-75 yards. Of course, if it loses connectivity, it'll just stop, and then you have to walk closer until the radio signal reacquires, and then it'll start again. It's got, and I have messed up because it's got some really neat pins. Pull these other ones. They're a quick litch pin. You push a button in the front and the little ears, keeper ears, pull in, so you don't have to have a tool or keep up with keeper. It just sticks in like that. I lost one, so I put a bolt in it and I've got it double nutted. I think, if I can pull it or not, I should have taken that bolt out before we did the video. I can't pull, but I'll try to show you the deck. If you pull those two back pins, the deck comes up vertical, and you can pin it upright, so you don't have to, it's really easy to work on, which is nice. You don't have to have a lift. The deck will literally come up vertical to get to the blades. And without pulling the pins, that's about all I can do. They're a swinging blade mowing deck. I mean, it's for rough cut. Now they've got other mowing decks that are for finish cuts, although it does a pretty good job. Got about a little over 50 hours on these, chewing rocks, stumps, you know, just hit them with everything. The only thing that's failed are the bolts. Like on any bush hog, they take the biggest wear and tear in their nylon lock nuts, so they're going to back off over enough hours. What I typically do, I haven't done on these yet, is tighten them up and tack weld them, because you're never going to, if you have to take the bolt out, you might as well replace it. but no self-locking bolt and nut's going to hold up to that long term. But you can see it's very simple, and again, the electric motor spindle goes right to the blade. I'll go to the top. And once again, see the balance of the machine. It's just right on the money. It will not mow. I think I said this before, but it will not mow unless the deck is all the way down. But if you get stuck, you can raise the deck up. You have to push this button and hold it till it beeps for it to start operating, which is a good safety feature. And you'll hear it. There. And what it is it's actually got a proximity switch mounted right here that tells it that the deck's all the way down. And then you're clear to mow with it. I could engage the mow right now. Adjusting the height of cut, I've kept it as low as it would go for everything I've been doing, but you can see there's multiple holes right here to adjust the back of the deck at different cut heights. Gives it to you right here in metric. And then the front caster wheels can be changed. You can see you can pull the pin and adjust the deck height based on that. Or you can remove this entirely. You can take the front caster wheels off and just let the deck float and drag. If you notice on the sides, it's got some real beefy high density plastic on the sides all the way around it. Very similar to what they have on loading docks. And believe me, I've bashed trees and rocks and stumps and everything else, so that's a good feature. The quality and gauge of the metal seems to be really good. I'd say it's all metric, but I would say that's a 11 gauge, maybe a little heavier. I kind of like that because it's repairable. I've got some other mowers that are aluminum. It's got a nice powder coat finish. Like I said, I have really put it through it and rubbed up against stuff, and the paint finish has held up really well. So I mean, I love the machine. I think it's great. Certainly will cut rings around the track machine that we had. You would think a track mounted mower, slope mower, would go places that nothing else would. This thing will go up a much steeper slope, much more maneuverable. You can literally, had a stick or a little tree smaller than that and can literally take it in a ring right around it. It's that maneuverable and that controllable. Things I don't like about it: price. They are trying to ride the wave of high dollar like everybody that does anything electric. They try to blame it on the cost of the lithium ion pack. That's not an expensive lithium battery. 8 kilowatt hours is not a lot of money. It's a very simple machine. I'm sure all the motors and main components are made in China, and are used by other mowing companies. This thing is, I keep meaning to look it up, Romania. It's one of the Soviet bloc countries. Guys that did the engineering on it did a great job. Kudos to them. But I kind of think they're charging a premium because they can. I'm sure that we are one of the few individuals that has ever bought one of these machines, because it's $35,000. They're selling them to municipalities. They're selling them to other agencies and companies that can not only write it off, but they're also getting some printed government money for it, subsidies, whatever. So more power to them. That's free enterprise. To me, it's probably worth every dime of $20,000-$25,000, which still sounds high. But you have to realize I can mow 4 or 5 hours with this machine for basically less than $1 worth of electricity. We pay 11 cents kilowatt hour for power. It's an 8 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's 88 cents. If I tried to do the same with the track machine we had, or not on that slope with say the Cub Cadet, the tank, I would probably burn at least 8 or 10 gallons of gasoline. So you do the math. I mean, that's a tremendous savings. So I think even if you did it commercially and you were getting paid for it, you could even justify the $35,000 price, because you'll get tax write-offs. I think you can get 30% off if you can charge it with solar, which, pan over there and show, we do have solar. All of our electricity, we are grid tied, but we generate more than we use. That's just a small sample of the solar we have. So basically 100% of what we do is electric. And I think based on that, you can write off 30% of the cost. But it shouldn't be any more expensive than a comparable gasoline mower. It's so simple. It's just mass production that's the difference. This is the remote control. It's a really nice remote control. It's made by, not by Raymo, of course. I think it's a German or Austrian company. They have a stocking parts rep in Virginia. Am I boring you, Jody? They are in Virginia. They've got stocking parts. The joysticks are really slick. You remove these 4 little screws and it unplugs. It's modular. There's no wiring, no nothing. So if you broke it, the only thing I don't like is they're stiff. They're easy to move, but if you mow for hours and hours, especially on this one, and I extended this, and it's very dangerous. I do not recommend anyone do this, but it has saved my thumb. For hours of doing this, your thumb gets very fatigued. This not so much. This is your right and left. Adding the length made it much easier. My thumb doesn't bother me now. But with my big belly, when I lean over, I push that thing. And so if I'm not paying attention, the mower could run me over or run off a cliff or do any number of things. So I do not recommend doing it. I called the company and they looked, and I even took one apart. It's a little rubber membrane and it's just stiff. Maybe after a couple of years it'll soften up. I don't know, but they don't offer any options. This is the switch to enable it. You have to pop out the e-stop. It sings to you. Just to be safe, I'm gonna sit in front of it. You push this one forward, you hear it beep. Typically you have to go back once. So see, now it'll move. It starts in low speed and you can hit this one time to go to high, hit it again back to low. This would be for your generator. If you had the gasoline powered generator, you can have it in auto where it'll fire up when the battery gets low, or you can run it on generator all the time. If I'm remembering right, because I never use it, I think this changes the radio frequency. Let's see, one of them does. The other ones will change the track bias. If you're driving down the road or in a straight line and it has a tendency, you're just operating the forward joystick. If it's having a tendency to wander one way or the other, you can trim it with these. I've never had to do it. It tracks really well. This is the raised deck and lower deck. And then this is to start the blade. And to start the blade, you have to push the enable switch and this at the same time. I don't want to start the blade right now. And then it'll take off. And you can stop it by pulling that back or hitting the e-stop. So one thing I don't like is the joystick fatigue. Maybe a younger hand wouldn't have the problem with it that I do. Parts are available through the main U.S. distributor in Illinois. They've got regional distributors all around, so I assume parts will be coming available more readily. It's a great machine. It's amazing what you can do with it. I don't think there's any rough cut or slope mowing machine out there that can do what this thing can do. I don't care how much you spend on it. The track machine we had was over 50 grand. I wouldn't take 3 of them for this machine. And this one's cheaper, even though it's still outrageous money. So I don't know, that's pretty much the Raymo slope mower. Again, we put 50 hours on it. If you pan over there and show that slope over there, I've spent decades mowing it with a 4-wheel drive Kubota tractor up and down. Luckily, I didn't kill myself. That's one of the justifications for buying a machine like this, the safety factor of it. But I mowed that whole hillside, and it was probably 3 feet tall in grown-up grass and briars and multiple rows, and I cut it all in probably 2 charges, a couple of dollars worth of electricity. And then if you can see some of these other slopes we've cut. It's really great for hitting a pasture once a year just to get rid of briars and multiple rows. So I mean, if you've got a lot of property, we're gonna try to work it commercially if there's a market for it. We live in an area that's one of the largest Christmas tree growing industries in the country, and I think there's a potential market for it. I don't know enough about their cost of spraying, both labor and the chemicals. You would probably have to mow, I'm gonna think, twice a year, but one person could do it, and I could mow a very big Christmas tree field with it quickly. It's very fast. You might have to alter the spacing on the way you plant them, but I think most of them are at least 4 feet apart. But I can't think of anything else. Can you, Jody? But yeah, if you're interested in one and you contact the distributors, I'll let you find that online. Tell them that you watched our video. I don't know what benefit it'll give us. We certainly are not paid by them or sponsored in any way, but I do recommend the machine if you've got a need for it. But then again, we don't know nothing.